Hi everyone, my name is Cierra and welcome to my channel. My name is Cierra and I'm an author. It feels very weird to say that, but it also feels really good. So this is like my first introduction to AuthorTube. I am also in the reading space on BookTube, but this is my formal introduction. So, hi. So I pulled up the AuthorTube newbie tag questions. So I have them here on my iPad. And I'm just gonna go ahead and read them off and get my responses. So the first question is, how did you find out about AuthorTube? So I follow Brielle Wrights over here on YouTube, and I try to like peek and look at other channels too as well. I don't necessarily follow a lot of channels because it can get very crazy, but I do get a lot of suggestions about other YouTubers who are writing in the author space. So yeah, I kind of like just get a snippet of everything all the time. And I just love seeing what everybody's working on and hearing the different stories and what their process looks like. Number 2, what genre do you write in? So right now I'm currently writing romance. I have a book on Kindle Unlimited. It is a romance, it's a YA romance. This one I'm working on is more of an adult romance. So yeah, I'm doing a little bit more romance, but I would love to get into like more thriller, mystery based. I have one of my other WIPs. It's more of a thriller, mystery, like, you know, whodunit at a private school. And another one is more of like a fantasy based. I believe it's fantasy. I don't think it's necessarily sci-fi. I'm still trying to figure out what it really falls into. So that's like a different realm from what I'm used to writing. What is your preferred writing tense, POV, and category of story? So I write more in the present tense. I feel like that's what I'm just very comfortable in, as well as first person. I feel like I use I a lot. I've tried to do it in third person, and sometimes it feels a little bit odd because it feels like it moves the book a little bit too fast. So I don't know how to like slow it down. So writing in first person really works for me that way, because I can actually get into the character's mind and like really understand each intention and their thought process, and I'll actually like build the character more so that way. I feel like it's more connected that way, at least for me. And then for a category of story, so I would say more adult, with the first book being my YA book, but I want to lean into more adult books. So more so leaning towards like the end of your 20s going into your 30s. I believe that's more adult, so that's the space I want to work. I want to write in more. Next question, are you a plotter, pantser, or plantser? So I started off writing as a pantser. I would have like notebooks upon notebooks with different story ideas, or like a little bit of a character, or like just automatically just start writing with no idea of what's happening really, but it's like a scene that I have in mind. And I used to like write like that. And then I started to become more of a plantser, because now it's like I still get a lot of ideas at a very fast rate, but now I need to like actually plan it out. So it's like, okay, in this section, I might not know exactly what I'm gonna say in each chapter, but at least I know it's like, okay, for my climax, these are different types of situations I can use in my climax. And then I can spread that out over the chapter, so it's not all like in one chapter and becomes like very overwhelming for people to read, even for me to read as I reread it myself. So that's what I feel like I am. More of a plantser now. All right, are you self-published or yet to be published? I am self-published. My book, The Memories I Hold, is on Kindle Unlimited. Check it out if you like to. It's a novella. It's very short. It's like 170 pages max, I think. Not even that. I feel like it's like 100 pages. It's a very quick read. It's about like high school romance, and if you like remember what your first love was like, and just the situation and everything that goes on in a high school romance, it kind of like very much, it's like nostalgic to me, I think, and just really like seeing and understanding now more so of what happens in a high school romance, like how you feel, that type of thing. So if you want to, you can check it out. What publishing company, literacy agent, or printing company do you want to use? That's a good question. I have no idea. Because I went to do projects in different genres, I'm not necessarily sure traditional publishing is for me. Maybe, possibly, like if it's like my thriller or my mystery book that I'm working on next, maybe possibly I can query for it. Or I might want to query for this one for my second chance romance that I'm working on right now. I'm very much up in the air, so I don't really know what to do about that. What AuthorTube related videos can we find on your channel? So I love to talk about just amazing books in general that I loved, and the type of writing, the writing style of those authors, certain characters that I really loved and connected to, that type of thing. Writing tips, I have some videos over on my other channel, but I can slide them on over here as well too, so you guys can get into those videos. And just really document my writing journey too as well, so you can see the mayhem that goes on behind the screen, because it's very chaotic over here. It's extremely chaotic. So some other video ideas would probably be like writing mental health and writing mental illness. I feel like I have my degree in psychology, so with my background I can actually give tips and help people out when it comes to writing characters who may suffer from a mental illness, or even just like have certain relationships, and just knowing what constitutes as a toxic relationship to make sure that we are actually, like, I guess, describing and representing relationships in the way that they are. So very much so, like with Colleen Hoover, just making sure it's like, if you knowing what is a toxic relationship and what it looks like and what should it be considered romance, that type of thing too, and just being more aware of what we put out there through media, because essentially we're writing media anyway, and we're really connecting with other readers, especially young readers, and there's just certain things that aren't appropriate, and I feel like we need to be very cautious about that and really take into consideration that these things can be damaging to children. Also, it's the parents' fault for not, checking to make sure that the content is appropriate for them. But also for writers, it's for us to showcase and just be real about it. Like, let's not try to pretend like this kind of guy is a good guy when they're really not. Like, let's not give people false hope, not even just like teenagers, but even young adults, as we start to grow. It's like we still are learning who's not a good person, and it can be very damaging and very jarring to read it in the book. It's like, oh yeah, well, this character does this. This character like broke into her house. It's totally fine. No, it's like, no, I don't think that's fine though. So I feel like it's just very much so. I feel like it's a responsibility on my part to depict my characters in a certain way, to educate and show that certain things do happen. It's not always necessarily a bad thing, but just being aware that these are representations of mental health, these are representations of toxic or positive relationships, and just being honest about it. I do have the DSM, so I'm not just like going into it blindly. Like, I have my material, I have my degree, so I feel like I'm equipped to at least represent those different facets of relationships and characters in my novels. I also want to focus on more black female characters in my stories. So you will be definitely seeing all my main characters are going to be black, regardless. Plus size, mid-size, small, I don't care about the size of my character, but my main character is going to be black. So I feel like that's another thing that I really feel obviously connected to, but I also feel like just seeing more representation of us in just even a romance book that doesn't have anything tied to like any abusive relationship or anything like that, where it's just like, yeah, the guy's bad, but our characters, our Black female characters, they can get through it. They don't have to have a love interest at the end, but they go through different things, and it's not always something completely so traumatizing as like police brutality or anything like that. Like, we can go through different things where it's more on the typical side of our white community or Asian community, if that makes sense. All right, let's move on, because that one there's a lot that I want to cover on my channel. But when did you start writing? So like, I would say 5th grade, because that was also around the time I was drawing a lot of fashion illustrations. Like, that was my thing, was always drawing for like my friends. Like, each one of us would wear like a different outfit. I'd be like, you're gonna be the one wearing the cheetah print, I'll be wearing a skirt. Like, I was that type of person. And then I started to like create stories just from like watching Disney Channel. I'm like, that sounds like a good character name, and then automatically I'm just like writing something down and starting a story. I never finished. I never finished the story, but the only story I really completed was much later. But that's really just how I got my start with writing. Moving on. What was the first story you ever wrote? So like, completed? If we're talking about my completed story, it's, oh my god, I can't even remember what year it was, but I'll put it up on the screen over here in the corner. It's still online. It's on Teen Ink, so you can go ahead and read it. It's trash, I know. I did a whole video on it on my other channel where I reread it. God, it's awful. Maybe I could do like a summary of it on this channel, and just kind of like looking back on my terrible writing. But yeah, if you want to read it, you can read it, or you can just wait for me to do a summary on it. Whatever works for you, whatever floats your boat. A speed round with these last 4 questions. What authors have inspired your writing the most? So I don't have any like specific authors that inspired my writing per se, but there are authors that I just purely enjoy. Like, I love Talia Hibbert, J.L. Seegers, Lisa Jewell. I love her mystery thriller books. Oh my goodness, there's just different authors that I've become more connected with, and the work that I absolutely love of theirs. There was like a span of time where I didn't read as much, so I guess like in the past 2 years, this is the most I've ever read in a long time. But over this course of time, like, there's a few authors that I just absolutely enjoyed reading. Alexandria House, I love her books. But yeah, I mean, I can't really think of all that much because my head is like very much focused on trying to get this content out for you. But I think it's like Amanda Jayatissa, I think that's how you pronounce it. Amanda J. She wrote You're Invited, and she also wrote My Sweet Girl. So she's another amazing author that I love. I got into Ayanna Gray, she's amazing. There's just so many, and like I may not have read all of their work, but there are just a lot of books that stand out to me where I'm like, I'm gonna keep track of your work. Catherine Stedman, her mysteries are really good too. That's another one. Moving on. Do you schedule your writing sessions or write when you can? So I write when I can, but I want to implement more of a schedule as I'm navigating into like a different career field. I'll have more time to schedule to write. I feel like I'll have like more time to do it because I'll be working like 8:30 to 2. So I feel like I'll have a lot more time in the afternoon to actually write. I can schedule like maybe 3 to 4 I can write type of thing. I feel like it'll be a lot easier to schedule time versus just writing when I can and not getting as many words out as I would like to. Do you use a computer, typewriter, write by hand, or a blend? So I used to write by hand, especially when I was working as a tutor and I was constantly moving around, but whenever I got an idea or when there was like a lull, I'll go in the back and like write down stuff on paper. Or when I was working in childcare, whenever the kids were busy enough, like just playing and hanging out, I would sit in a spot where I could see them, but I can like write down a little bit of just like the scene that I had left off of. I'll like start to write a little bit like that. And then I would type on my computer. But since then, I've bought this bad boy. Yes, they got 7 stickers. I bought my iPad, so I mostly type on here more than anything. Sometimes I still write by hand if it's just like a little note or two, but I usually have a notebook now, so I put all of like my ideas in there, or just like plot points. Yeah, but I mostly type on here. I use ellipsis, Melanote sometimes. I'll use that when it comes to like making my characters. Sometimes I still use Google Docs, and sometimes I just use Microsoft Word. So those are just the different platforms I use when I'm writing, creating my story. And then last question, what are you most looking forward to now that you're on AuthorTube? I'm looking forward to just like connecting with other writers. Yeah, just connecting with other writers, connecting with published and unpublished authors, because you're all authors. If you have a completed work, you're an author, whether you're published or not. I feel like you are. Talking to writers about like mental health and just how we incorporate that in our books. Talking about creating amazing Black characters, creating amazing minority characters, and just the magic of writing and how everybody creates their characters and their stories. I'm always fascinated by like the ideas that people come up with. It's like, wow, that's a very interesting concept. Like I never would have thought of that, and it's amazing that you thought of it. I would love to like read that and see how you created that world. Like I want to see it. I want to read the pages. I want to see the pictures. Like if you draw pictures with it. Like I'm just so curious. I'm a very nosy person. So if you haven't gotten that by now, I can be very nosy and like in a positive way. Like I very much want to know what you're working on, what the characters' names, like what is your possible title, what genre is it? Because I am truly nosy, and I would love an ARC copy, or even just to like hear your journey. That's it. That's just me. So yeah, that's me. I'm just excited to see what takes place on this journey, on this channel as an author. I'm still so excited to see what my booktube channel, I can't talk for shit. I'm excited to see what goes on there. I'm just excited for the future and to see what is possible out there for myself, as I become more confident in myself and comfortable in communicating with others and going to events, being able to see other authors talking about their books, talking about amazing topics and concepts of their stories. I'm just so curious to see like what happens in the future. I mean, I'm 29. I should add that in there too. I'm 29 years old, so it's like I'm curious to see like what this next phase of my life looks like. I've worked in childcare for 10 years. I'm over it. So I'm very excited to see like what this next phase looks like for me. So yeah, that's just me. If you like to follow along, you can subscribe to my channel, or just drop in the comments hello, or just like give me like a wave emoji. I think there's a wave emoji. I don't know. I'm supposed to be young enough to know things, but I'm not that young to know every tech thing. But anyway, moving on. If you like this video, be sure to like this video, comment hello, and yeah, so I should be planning out more videos on this channel. But until then, goodbye.